Over the past few weeks, we at Forgotten India have been busting myths, breaking down lies we were fed about caste, religion, identity, and history. But this time, something new hit me. A foreign government just sanctioned an Indian refinery. Yes, you heard that right. The European Union has placed direct sanctions targeting an oil refinery in India. Yes, in India, not some Russian site, not some shady shell company, but a fully operational Indian-based refinery, Nayara Energy, located in Gujarat. This may not be the first time foreign powers have interfered in Indian economic policy. But in recent times, this is one of the boldest, most hypocritical moves yet, and it's time we expose it. So what exactly happened? So here's the fact. On July 17, 2024, the EU approved its 14th round of sanctions against Russia. But this time it didn't just target Russian assets, it named and targeted Rosneft's biggest refinery in India, Nayara Energy. Nayara is a privately operated Indian refinery based in Gujarat. Yes, Rosneft owns 49%, but the refinery caters largely to Indian energy needs. The EU claims it wants to block backdoor Russian oil sales, but what it's really doing is punishing India for not towing their line. That's the truth. Why this is wrong on so many levels. 1. Hypocrisy at its finest. While the EU is targeting Indian oil refineries for using discounted Russian crude, let's look at what Europe itself has been doing quietly. Even today, Germany increased LNG imports from Russia by 18% in 2023. As per CARIA, the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, the EU has purchased over 175 billion euros worth of Russian fossil fuels since the war began in February 2022. Even in 2024, EU countries were importing gas via pipelines and LNG via indirect routes. France quietly ramped up purchases of nuclear fuel from Russia, over 1.2 billion euros worth in 2023. Russia still provides 30% of the enriched uranium used in EU reactors. Italy's energy firm Eni continues joint operations with Novatek, a major Russian gas exporter. Netherlands remains a major transit hub for Russian oil, especially via blending and third-party traders. Spain imported over 3.3 billion euros worth of Russian LNG in 2023 alone, which is nearly double of what India imported in total crude that year. I am not even going into details of each and every EU countries now. Just some of it, and the overall transactions is much more than what India did last year. India did just 3.2 billion in discounted crude oil. But India, which buys oil to feed 1.4 billion people, keep fuel prices stable and ensure energy security, gets punished. Where is the logic? Where is the morality? Where is the fairness? This isn't about peace. This is about control. 2. Economic imperialism reborn. Let's be clear. This is not a sanction on Russia. This is a message to India. A message that says, you are not allowed to act in your own interest if it threatens our geopolitical games. It's colonialism in a modern shell, not with armies but with financial warfare. They are using the same playbook the British used: control the trade, punish the rebels, profit from the chaos. 3. Undermining India's sovereignty. What gives the EU the right to sanction an Indian refinery operating under Indian law? India hasn't violated any UN resolution. Nayara hasn't broken any global rule. Yet, Europe wants to police our decisions because we didn't choose their side. That's not partnership. That's coercion. Let's say that loud and clear. What should India do? Let's be realistic. India is still rising. It's not 1991 anymore. We do have leverage. But we're also not in a place to pick fights carelessly. Unlike the EU, India won't go around slapping sanctions just to flex, because here's the catch. If India retaliates openly, there will be a ripple effect. The EU may freeze trade talks. They may restrict Indian pharma and IT access, or even make visas harder for Indian students and workers. Western lobbies may escalate anti-India narratives at global platforms. So yes, the government of India may play it safe. They might not retaliate publicly, but let's not be naive. delayed approvals for EU-funded projects, policy revisions to slow down imports, subtle pushbacks in WTO or UN forums. They might already be happening, just quietly, because India may not shout, but it knows how to signal what we, the people, can do. But we, the people, we don't need permission to act. We can raise awareness. We can call out the hypocrisy. And yes, we can hurt them where it matters most. Their business interests in India. There are dozens of EU companies operating in India without any Indian joint ventures. H&M, Zara, Nestle, Maggi, Nescafe, and many more sugar-filled baby food products. L'Oreal, Volkswagen, Renault, Mercedes, Philips, IKEA, Decathlon. We are not calling for hate or violence. In fact, we know quite a lot of companies which have provided lot of jobs for Indians like the Bosch, Airbus and more. But we can choose where to shop, what to buy, who to trust. At least till EU understands their hypocrisy. If they mess with India's sovereignty, they shouldn't profit off Indian consumers. Even a small dent in their revenue will send a louder message than any official press release. India isn't a puppet anymore. We are not the colony Europe once ruled. We are not dependent. We are not silent. And if they think they can control us through sanctions, they've forgotten history. Because this is the India that remembers. And this is forgotten India, where truth is not a trend, it's our mission.